Welcome to Movie Reviews with my cat, 2022 The Batman. Woo! A lot of people, including myself, have been eagerly awaiting this movie, and it's finally here. I actually got to see this movie 3 times already. Thursday opening night, Saturday night, and Sunday early in the morning. And you know what? I enjoyed it. It was 3 different venues, different people I went to watch it with, and different experiences as well. I think this movie is a little controversial and at the same time a little bit confusing. Why? Well, because we have had a lot of different versions of Batman in the last few years. We have had the Nolan Batmans, we have had the Ben Affleck Batmans, now we have the Robert Pattinson Batmans. There's confusion. Is this canon? Is this DCEU? Is this standalone? Where does this fall in? And this is a standalone movie like 2019's Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, which was fantastic. Now, of course, this movie has been doing really well at the box office like the Joker did. I don't think it's gonna do that well, but it's still doing quite well. So I'm not surprised if there's gonna be a sequel or even a trilogy of these movies because they're great and seems like the audience really loves what they saw. This is a very different take on the Batman than I have watched or have been exposed to, but I do appreciate that they decided to take this character that's been around for I think close to 100 years now and give it a different spin. This is first a detective story and then it has Batman in it, different from the Nolan films, and I think it's very unfair to try to compare these 2 movies. They're very different movies, different directors, different, they're standalone stuff, they're not connected. And I think we should be thankful that we get to have so much Batman content the last 15 to 20 years that the Nolan movies came out. So with that being said, I liked it. Gotham really here feels lived in, it's scary. There's corruption, there's bad people, there's vigilantes, there's a weird bat signal in the sky. Of course, we know what it is, but the citizens of Gotham don't know that because Batman is young. He's 2 years into the job. He's a detective. He's very smart, but he's still learning things around the city. There's still mistakes that he does, things that he's figuring out. He has his friend Gordon at the police department, but not everybody at the police department likes him or even care for him. They call him a vigilante. We don't know who this guy's working for, etc. This movie definitely has that inspiration from different types of movies. That detective style of work is very strong here. The Riddler is the main villain. He's leaving clues everywhere. Paul Dano's version of the Riddler is phenomenal. Not everybody might like it because some people really like the Jim Carrey version of the Riddler. But I think it's great. You know, he's scary, he's creepy, he's an average looking guy. But at the same time, he's psychotic and crazy because he has caused so much destruction to the city of Gotham. He's delusional with some of the ideas that he has about bringing justice in his own crooked way of doing stuff, and the corruption that Gotham has, and the Wayne Foundation, and all these things. But overall, this is a villain that you start to understand a little bit why his motivation, why he's doing what he's doing. Regardless, he is still ridiculously crazy and insane. The casting here is fantastic. Zoe Kravitz and Robert Pattinson definitely have chemistry here. I really enjoyed their chemistry. There's a little bit of sexual tension going on, but at the same time, they're 2 very different people from very different walks of life. So it's great to see that chemistry going on. Andy Serkis does a great Alfred with Robert Pattinson. Their dynamic is great. Robert Pattinson's version of the Batman is very dark and gloomy, and some are calling it the emo Batman or whatever. But hey man, this guy is broken. He is emotionally damaged. He has had a rough childhood. There's a lot of things that have gone bad in his life. Yes, he is rich, like the Riddler later calls him out on it, but still, this guy is trying to figure out his place in the world, his place in Gotham. He's trying to do good for the city, but he doesn't exactly know how to go about doing it. He's figuring out his method of doing things. And I appreciate that they show this Batman that is figuring things out. He is imperfect. He does mistakes. He's figuring a lot of things out. And I think that brings a level of humanity to this version of Batman that sometimes we might not see because we always see Bruce Wayne, the playboy, billionaire, philanthropist. He's traveling, he's with the models, with the babes. He has this exotic lifestyle. But here we see somebody that is destroyed, really. And he's trying to figure out what to do with his life. What is he doing? How does he do good for humanity? And I think this is just a stage in this version of Batman's life. I think if they make a 2nd or 3rd movie, we'll eventually see him change from where he is to the playboy billionaire type of person that we have grown accustomed to seeing in a Batman movie. Another of the villains of this story is Colin Farrell's Penguin, which by the way is incredible what they did with Colin Farrell. He is completely unrecognizable. He is, wow. I have a special type of appreciation for actors that are committed to their craft to go undergo extensive type of prosthetics or makeup, whatever they did. This took hours and hours before they started shooting every day, and Colin Farrell's performance is great. He has that energy of this crazy villain, but at the same time, very smart villain that he's playing multiple cards here. Let's talk about the Batmobile. This Batmobile is not for everybody. It's different from the Tumbler. It's different from, I think, any other version of the Batmobile that we have seen in the comic book pages or movie adaptation. Some people might not like this Batmobile version. It really looks like a muscle car, and that's about it until you watch the movie, and wow, it's very different. The reveal of the Batmobile, I think it's awesome. There's this dark alleyway and the Batmobile just turns on. The blue jet flames come out from the back, the flashing lights from the engine and all that stuff. And to those people that don't like this Batmobile, hear me out. I'm taking this Batmobile almost as a character from the movie. Think about slasher movies. Think about Freddy Krueger or Jason, Michael Myers, these type of guys. When you see these guys coming down the alleyway, when you see them coming towards you, you know it's over. That's it. You are not escaping that. That's how I take this Batmobile. It doesn't speak per se, neither do a lot of these other slasher characters, but at the same time, it symbolizes something. Once it's coming after you, that's kind of it. You're not escaping it. And I think that's what happens when the Penguin recognizes it in the alleyway. He says, oh no, I'm screwed. And that's why he runs into his car, gets in, leaves the other guys behind, doesn't care about the bot, doesn't care about the money. And he's out of there. And then proceeds perhaps one of the coolest car chase scenes that I've seen in a very, very long time. That was fantastic. And at one point, the Penguin thinks he outdid the Batman, but no, the Batmobile just comes flying through the fire and just lands behind him. And that sequence where the Penguin just rolls, that's crazy. I mean, I don't think anybody could survive that and be conscious. If that car sequence was to happen to anybody, all that rolling and tumbling, you would at least be unconscious, but the Penguin is fine, he's unscratched. I don't think he even has any blood because this is a PG-13 movie. Regardless, those are some things that you can just overlook because it doesn't have to be like super realistic. We are talking about a comic book character called the Batman. Things happen that don't directly correlate to instant death or a ton of damage. A lot of these villains will get back up and walk. So at the end of the day, I'm taking this Batmobile as a character of the story, kind of like Gotham is a character in this movie. And you know what? I'll take it different. We don't have to always do everything that we're used to in other movie adaptations or in the comic book pages. Let's try something different. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I think for the majority of the people, this Batmobile does work. It doesn't seem to be super high-tech and fancy like other versions of Batmobile. There is a scene that we do see inside the Batmobile, and there's just like a digital screen with couple dials and knobs, and I don't think it does much like the Tumbler did, and like the motorcycle comes out. I don't think that's gonna happen in this version of the Batmobile, but regardless, it's fine. Third act, it's a little weak, it's a little long as well. For me, I started checking not checking my watch, but I started to feel the time happening when Batman goes to the Riddler's apartment, and then he finds clues, and then he goes to Arkham, and then he comes back, and then they find the clue that the goons or the followers of the Riddler are gonna storm the arena, and then Batman goes to the arena and it starts flooding. That whole sequence I started to feel it, personally. The whole arena part, it's okay, but the goons felt more like they were there for a climatic ending, like, oh, the big battle at the end, and it was nice to see Batman kind of get his ass whipped, and that double-barrel shotgun to his chest that just sent him down. I mean, anybody else other than Batman would not be getting up from a double-barrel shotgun at a very close range. That's a lot of damage that you would take. Some people might not actually ever get back up from something like that, but you know what? It's okay. The adrenaline shot, I don't know how long you could run an adrenaline shot if you had just been hit with a double-barrel shotgun. I've said that too many times already. Regardless, those are things that you overlook for the movie. It is a comic book movie at the end of the day. Look at Marvel. There's a lot of things that happen in those Marvel movies, as much as I love them, that are not grounded in reality. That's not how it would happen. End of discussion for that. The other scene when Batman's taking the people out from underneath the rubble, that was a pretty cool scene. Didn't really make a lot of sense, but whatever. He's guiding the children of Israel out of Egypt, or whatever analogy you want to use for that, and him helping with the National Guard, with the people and putting them up on the lifters and that. There is that scene where they take the mask off of one of the goons on top of the rafters, and he says, "I am vengeance," and I don't think that's, some people have been saying that that's when Batman realizes he was doing something bad. I wouldn't say he was doing something bad. I think he just realizes that there's more to what he can do. He can be a symbol of vengeance for the bad people, but also a symbol of hope for the rest of the people in Gotham. If you remember at the beginning when he has a meetup with those first few guys, he takes them down, but also the guy that they were about to beat up, he says, "Please don't hurt me." So civilians don't really have the most positive viewpoint of the masked vigilante that runs around at nighttime. So I think that's why he thinks, I can do more for people. And then later we see him helping the National Guard with lifting the airlifting the people up out of the rubble. So that's my take on Batman. Overall, I enjoyed it. I did feel the third act, last little part when Batman and Catwoman are talking and kind of giving their farewells at the very end of the movie. That's okay. But when Catwoman leaves in the motorcycle and then Batman leaves and kind of catches up to her and he's going back and forth, it seemed like it didn't go with the tone of the movie. It seemed unnecessary in my opinion. But regardless, we got it, and I'd rather get more than less, and then we can choose whatever we want or not and nitpick these fantastic movies overall. But how lucky are we that we get great movies, great Batman movies, great comic book movies, regardless that we're still technically in a pandemic. So I'm really thankful that we got this movie. Overall, I enjoyed it a lot. It's not for everybody, but you should at least go check it out, try it. And remember folks, you owe it to yourself to watch great cinema.